Target acquired.
The tank sequence, which is the sort of climactic action sequence, I guess, of Ghost in the Shell, the Hot Fuzz sequence are kind of, they couldn't be further apart.
It's all like Andy! It's just what it needs!
And that's what sort of makes them interesting to me. The Hot Fuzz sequence was very multi-camera. It was very fast style of operating, a lot of whip panning, a lot of long lens. You know, we used a hand crank film camera.
Very good, what he said.
I was lucky to have like very good operators. I kind of made a point of like hunting down like, you know, these camera operators. Peter Robertson is a fantastic camera operator, you know, operated a camera on Hot Fuzz. We've been looking at a lot of Bond action sequences, and, you know, Pete Field shot on Bond as well. So we were able to kind of bring that, you know, that expertise into those action sequences. Ghost in the Shell, you know, was so visual effects driven that, you know, required a very different type of shooting. And it was predominantly single camera. You know, it was a lot of like, you know, trying to understand what else was going to be in the frame that was going to be CG, you know, how that was going to interact with the performance of Scarlett or, you know, her stunt actor. Technically kind of getting those bits right, but also giving it life and not making it feel like a piece of pre-visualized computer animation. So it was like, how can we get as much real stuff into the initial photography as possible in order to kind of give it like that grit, you know, so it feels like something's really happening. I think evolving out of that anime language, where the composition is so specific, camera had to kind of be in a certain place in order to get you that very specific anime stroke manga sort of framing that we were looking for. I think they're very much their individual kind of language, and that's sort of what I try for in every film. I feel like those two pretty far apart, but I guess one of the common threads is, you know, it's kind of like gone through my eye in a way. So I think you probably could look at it and say, well, he has maybe a tendency to, like, you know, see light in certain ways, or introduce certain kind of contrasts maybe between light and dark, maybe compositional elements that kind of I'm drawn to. I mean, for example, one thing that I could say is, you know, the use of like a certain kind of focal length, although it was very specific on Ghost in the Shell because we were working with 65mm Alexa, still feels like not a million miles away from that kind of 27mm in terms of like a key lens. I think in Ghost in the Shell was, you know, was a 29mm that we had made specifically. It was the only one in the world in that lens set for that camera. And, you know, you have the compression of the 65mm format, which, you know, changes it from the 27. You have more compression, but, you know, you have a real like sense of kind of a wide angle. And that was something that I kind of got from the anime tradition and the manga tradition, where they'd sort of draw these wide angles, but they wouldn't have like a heavily keystone perspective to them necessarily.